We're about 690 or something.
Yeah. Over here in the far west of Wales, it's particularly in this part, it's quite sparsely populated, so social distancing's easy. The virus is really not circulating.
I think for us, it'd be more about, do we go into tier 2 or 3 when this thing ends?
I think we'll end up in 4.
Well, yeah, they haven't decided on whether there is a 4 yet, have they? But I think at least there's some good news that there's a vaccine imminent, which is always good news. So let's hope that it's a long way that continue, really. So you've disappeared, Keith. No, you haven't.
Don't know why.
Somebody else has disappeared. No, right, and so Planty, are you here for Sean today?
I did exchange messages with Sean. He's tied up in meetings pretty much all day, so he said he would try and dial in, but I did say I would cover for him. So
well, if he tries to dial in, he won't work because it's on Zoom.
You know what he's like. Absolutely. Yeah.
But here he is. Look, he's coming on now.
Is this Sean landing now?
It is Sean. Yeah. Right, and so I've gone back to back this morning. And there you go. Do you like my picture in the background?
I was admiring that. Have you just drawn that today? I've
not drawn it at all, actually. I just got it back a couple of days ago, and it's been framed. It's in a beautiful frame with a glass front. And we took it to the guy who framed it. He said, "Is it a Banksy?" I said, "If it was a Banksy, I wouldn't be bringing it here. It'd be worth about £3 million. It's actually we bought a building in Hull for our new offices, and it used to have an ATM in it because it's a bank. And one day this artwork appeared, and there's a local artist called Preg. He's a Hull artist. He's a bit like Banksy. So he's got a bit of a local following, and it was that. So I took it off there because otherwise it'd have got damaged and vandalised probably. So it's going to go up in our reception. So it's currently there, but it's people think it's a Banksy. I'm thinking, bloody hell, if it was a Banksy, it'd be millions.
Are you going to invite him in to sign it then?
Yeah, my eldest daughter knows him actually.
Right.
Because he's on the scene in Hull, you know what I mean? And you've met Olivia anyway, and you know what she's like, don't you? Yeah. So she's a bit out there as Olivia. So she sort of knows who he is and what have you. He's not as secretive as Banksy. I think he does. You know, people know. I think he likes people to buy him a drink, you see, rather than be top secret. So there you go. So that's there in pride of place. I'm pretending I'm getting people to think it's a Banksy, you see.
Brilliant.
So morning to everybody. Margarita needs to go at 12. Thank you for your email. So I think there's a couple of people on the call who are new. Rachel, who's one of our team members. So do you want to just introduce yourself, Rach?
Hello, I'm Rachel. I'm the marketing assistant for Pagaba.
I won't bother getting everybody to go around and introduce themselves because we all because it might just take a bit long. There was is everybody else? I think everybody else I know everybody else, and everybody else knows us. So okay, right then. So shall I kick off as to where we're going, because we're going to show you a couple of things today and tell you where we're up to. Right then. So I've got my agenda here. So we've now obviously got the qualifications in place. So the 5 sort of level 1 to level 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 qualifications. We had all the feedback. They've all been off call approved. We went through that last time. So the next stage is to start working with the students. So we're going to have 25 students across 5 organisations, I think, Charlie.
I'm just opening it now. I think yeah.
So it's at least 4. It might be 5. And I think I'd like to cap it at that. If there's any more, I'd like to do that in a subsequent wave if possible, because I think 25 is enough, because we've got to manage them and that sort of stuff. So I think the next bit of work we're going to do, or the process, is going to be, I think, as follows. And I'd like your comments, please, on this. So we want to organise a launch webinar for the 25 students. So we're going to send them, after we've just had this discussion today, we want to send them a nice email inviting them to take part in this programme. And there'll be a launch webinar, which we think we've got it in our diaries, the 3rd of December. So if everybody's happy with that date, what we'll probably do is go out on around before the 3rd of December. We might just have an alternative date if there's too many people not able to attend. But what I'd rather do is have a fixed date, and then if we need to have a second one, we'll just do what we could do is probably record it. Actually, that's a good idea. If we record it, then we know what's going on. So 3rd of December, and on that webinar, we're going to tell people what the journey will look like, what the process will look like. We've got somebody else joining us there. I'll just.
George, Matthew, how you doing? You okay?
Yeah, very well. How you doing?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Good. So I'm just sort of running through what the next part of our process is.
Okay.
So on the 25 shoots, we're looking at the 3rd of December for the. We'll do a little note, Charlie, after this, can we? Just to tell everybody what we're planning to do. But we're going to go through a process and a journey. So what will actually happen is each student will have to do what's called a skills scan. And the skills scan is actually effectively it's going to be an interview with our assessor, who is from ProQual, and I think it's Gary. Jan is the assessor.
Yeah.
So very experienced, exceptionally good, guy is Gary, and his sidekick is Helen. So between the two of them, they're working with us on this program. So what Gary does is he will interview each student and do effectively gap analysis to work out that they are on the right level of qualification. And it might not just be a case of, well, I want to do level 1 or I want to do level 2 or whatever. It's about whether it's appropriate for the individual's skill level and also what they're doing in their workplace, in their job, because it's all about assessing that. So so again, this is what we'll explain to everybody. We're then going to produce a prospectus and a presentation, which I'll go through in a bit more detail. So the agenda will be, hi, everybody, this is what we're doing. This is the journey we're going to go on. Here's a prospectus. You're going to see that. Thanks for joining, blah, blah, blah. So we're going to do all of that. And then we're going to give them a document. And the document for the students is going to be, we're going to call it a prospectus. And it's only going to be available in soft copy because we're a digital organisation, as you know. So the prospectus, which Rachel is working on, so this will be ready for the 3rd of December, as we agreed about an hour and a half ago. And prospectus is Rachel's name for this, so she owns this now. There's Rachel, so there you go. And it's going to be a background to why we're doing it, talking about the future proofing, life of careers, not career for life. Bricklayer, we don't want them to leave the industry. If they want to be digital, we want them to stay in the industry. Aligning skills to the future workplace, their ambitions, the industry, preparing ourselves post-pandemic, post-Brexit, and all that. So it'll be background. Then there's going to be a summary of the learning and the qualifications, plus what a skills scan looks like, because there's actually a document and a small process you go through. So this prospectus is going to have all of that sort of in there. Then there'll be details of what you'll be studying, how we're going to assess you, the benefits for the individual to them and their career. A bit of a message from us saying, look, thanks for joining this program and helping us and being part of the future. And all of that's going to be digital. So there'll probably be a link in there to ProQual's website, which is where the qualifications are stored, and that sort of stuff. So we're treating it very professionally. This isn't going to be something we just do, off the back of a fag packet. We're going to treat this really professionally. So it's going to look really good. And then we're going to sort of go through the process. So let's just bring up a couple of the documents that we're starting to do. So Rach, do you want to bring up our spreadsheet first? We'll have a look at the documents. The qualifications. So the prospectus will be built around this sort of stuff. At the moment, this is a spreadsheet, so it will look a bit more graphical. So we're developing this brand, TechU, Technical Qualification, which is a Pagabo brand we're developing. And each qualification, as you can see, there's 5 tabs on there. It will have the learning outcome. You might need to make it a little bit bigger, Rich. I don't know whether everybody's got their microscopes with them today. There you go. We haven't all got young eyes like you, Rachel, you see. There you go. Mine are nearly 40 now, my eyes. bit younger than the rest of me. So there you go. So there'll be a learning outcome. There'll be some assessment criteria. Then if you just go a bit further to the right, then there'll be the answers that students are going to have to prepare. And then the tips and hints is something we're putting together ourselves. So what we're going to do inside the business is we're going to actually do the qualifications ourselves to work out how to actually do them, and we're doing that in conjunction with ProQual just to get some ideas on what we should be looking for, get Gary's input. And is that hello?
I look at your quotations and I got, well, basically we have four in the project. The four indoors.
Yeah, that's probably not for us, that conversation. So we're going to put that together. So that's going to be a nice piece of work on that. Let's bring up the some of the other documents, please, Rich, and I'll explain these to everybody because we're building like a content bank in the background. If we bring up the roadmap. So what we want to do is imagine the journey. So the student will start at the start, and hopefully they'll go through this journey. And the bus stops, as I refer to them, are probably a better name. They'll be each of the learning outcomes, and at each of the learning outcome there'll be an element which then splits down into selecting your units. So effectively, we're going to break the qualification down into the overall journey. So imagine the World Cup 1982, where you put that thing on the wall and you've got your Panini stickers. It'd be the digital equivalent to that. But then each unit will be in there, so that'll break it down. And then again, against each one, there will be some interactive content about what they need to do, how they need to get that, etc. So these are just examples. Now, what we are going to do is produce it using as like a soft copy initially. But what I want to do, and it'll take a little bit longer, but I want to have this as an interactive type website. So I want the content to be very interactive. So it makes it really easy for people to engage with the qualifications and really drive that forward. I think, is that it from your examples, Rach? Can't hear you. Getting closer doesn't help. Yeah, getting closer doesn't help. You've got to unmute yourself. Okay.
Yeah,
That's it, right? Okay. Okay. So stop sharing for a second then. So hopefully everybody that sees the sort of journey we're going on. Has anybody got any questions on that? Comments? Yeah, must have some questions.
Can you put something quickly in the chat? I think, yeah, you're right about that. We'll make sure that's changed. They're just drafting stuff for now, so that'll change.
Yeah. What's an ORAD map? Is that what we've called it?
It's what you used to find your way to Wales, by the sound of things. We're not allowed into Wales, are we?
Well, we're not allowed.
But we all want to go there to the pub.
We can't. We need to go there to go and see Keith for a drink.
That's right.
So what does everybody think to that? Are you all happy with that as the process?
It looks a very professional approach, Gerard.
I hope so. Yeah, we like to do things professionally.
There's a lot of work. There's a lot of work to go into compiling it all, of course. But at the moment, it looks very sensible.
Yeah, I think I want to make sure that the 25 students who go on this feel like this is done properly. I don't want them to think we're doing this on the back of a fag packet. I want them to feel like it's been done properly. They are being treated. You know, they're not guinea pigs in that sense. I want them to be treated absolutely professionally.
When you go through the skills scan and you assess the applicant in the level that they've applied for, what's the process if there's a mismatch?
I'll let Jan answer that. Mute, Jan, mute.
Okay, is that better?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, they'll be advised as to what would be appropriate for them to go on, given the job role that they're in and access to the evidence that they'll be able to gather. So somebody, it's not particularly about the level that they think they want to go on. They have to be able to do the work in a job role that they're going to be able to gather the evidence, particularly when you're looking at level 3 and above, because you know we shouldn't be using any kind of simulation. So if the requirement within the qualification is to I don't know, some kind of supervisory element of the job role that they're doing, but they don't actually supervise anything or anybody, then it would be pretty much, it would be too difficult for them to achieve the criteria within the qualification. So they talk with the assessor who's doing the skills scan, and it would be suggested what would be the appropriate level. Or they could say, well, you could do it if your employer will agree to set you certain tasks for the purpose of undertaking this qualification, that you would actually then be able to cover the standards. So that's how it works. That's the purpose of the skills scan, because the last thing you want to do is set somebody up to fail, that if they can't achieve the standards, they're never going to achieve the qualification, which isn't obviously the right way to go.
Yeah, I think I'm thinking about how it works with our business. We have a support structure for the individuals doing it. So all the ones we put forward have got line manager approval, and obviously with the line manager they've assessed the levels based against the criteria that we've seen up to now. If there was a mismatch in the skills scan, then obviously I need to be able to manage that process within our learning environment within our business, and then look to fill the gap or do something to help or support or to accept there needs to be a change, which might be the latter of what you said, really helping them to get the evidence in a different way, maybe boost the role that they're involved in.
Exactly. I mean, if you've done that, quite honestly, it's unlikely that they wouldn't be able to undertake that role, because the skills scan is directly aligned to the criteria within that level of qualification. So, you know, it's unlikely, but there's nothing insurmountable. But yeah, that's exactly how it works. Mm.
Okay, well, Charlie knows we've made our guys jump through hoops to get to this point, so they've had to do an application internally to even get onto this list. So,
right.
Thank you.
That's good, actually. So you know, there's two things out of that, Sean. One, we need to make sure we deliver a professional thing for them then, because the last thing we want them, if they've had to apply for it internally, is that it looks a bit amateurish. So I'm glad we're doing it in the way we're doing it, because I think that's it justifies. It's quite important to me, these qualifications. So I think we need to treat it that way. And it should mean then that they're really engaged then. Is that right, Sean?
That's the whole point.
Yeah,
we wanted people that genuinely wanted to do it. They're fully engaged. They're enthusiastic, and they also give some great feedback. So recognise it's a pilot, and you know, we want it to be a success like you do.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Steph, I've noticed Steph has joined. Steph, we've been through quite a lot of the early presentation. There'll be a video of this, so you might want to see it. In summary terms, we're going to be having a webinar for all the 25 students. We're building a prospectus. It's going to be there's a professional set of documents coming. If you look at the recording in the first sort of 15 minutes before you came on, you'd see that. But I'm happy to speak to you offline if you want me to.
Okay, thanks, Jake.
Okay, so anybody else got any comments? Well, how do you feel about the way we're approaching it? Come on, Philippa, you must have a comment.
What you mean, Gerard? No, I think it looks great. It's very much kind of in line with Pagabo brand, so it's very slick. Looks really kind of user friendly for the students as well. So I think it gives that, from what we've seen so far, it gives a very credible air to it. So I think it looks really good.
Okay, well, that's what we want to try and achieve then. So okay, and Jan, Jan's not seen this before, so I'm going to ask her Colt. I don't know what her answer is going to be here, but from what I've shown you there, Jan, do you think that's quite a professional approach to, not trying to put words into your mouth, but you know, you see ITPs all the time?
No, honestly, truly, I think it looks very professional. It's well thought out. It meets everything that we're looking for. But the biggest thing for me, actually, Gerard, it actually looks exciting and inviting for not just the learner, but for, you know, a wider audience.
Yeah.
You get the impression that you're not just signing on to do a qualification, you're joining almost like a community. I'm quite impressed, actually. I don't want to say too much because, you know, you know you're good anyway, but actually it really does look quite impressive. It looks quite exciting.
Well, the ideas, they're going to remember, the ideas have been brought together by all of us. We're just expressing it. And I mean, I have to say thanks to the marketing team, because Ben and Rachel and everybody are doing a great job. And I think they do a great job with our brand anyway. But I think, you know, my direction was about making it professional. And I think, you know, I don't have any preconceptions about how ITPs work. I just want it to be done for the way I think young people should learn. And well, not just young people, all people. It needs to be engaging and whatever. So credit to Rachel and Ben on that, really, I think. So
the branding looks really good. It looks really fresh and really clean and very professional. But I think if it's going to be different then to everything that's happened, and we're looking at the future of construction here, then I think it shouldn't be like it's always been. It's got to be different, and I think you've achieved that, and I think you've achieved it very well.
Yeah, and let's deliver on it. I mean, I think I have a vision to make those sheets that Rach showed you interactive. So how the customer will engage, the student will engage, I haven't yet come up with, and we'll work on that. But that's what we're going to do. We want to make that as engaging and also available on this device as well, if necessary.
Gerard,
yeah.
Sorry, just an observation, something to pick up on what Jan's just been talking about there. Are we going to encourage the candidates to network between themselves and to build almost a collegiate atmosphere for them? Because I think that's something that could be encouraged.
Good idea. I'll just make some notes of that. I like that, the collegiate sort of thing. So Rachel, Ben, maybe you should think about that. Do we set up like a I don't know, LinkedIn or a Facebook group, or you know, I don't know what.
We can set up work groups. Absolutely, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I think that's a great idea. How are you getting on with that? How are you getting on with learning objective number 7, or I'm struggling with that, or something like that? So maybe there's no point in trying to develop some software for that, Ian. There's plenty of tools out there like Facebook.
Yeah, but I'm talking more about the personal skills for the future careers. You know, they're all going to end up in different places, and it's just a superb networking opportunity. They can build relationships which will stand them in good stead, and it should be, you know, a fundamental part of what we're doing.
Okay. So Ben, Rachel, can you think about the most appropriate way to do that? Because I don't want to spend a load of money developing something that's already available. So LinkedIn and Facebook and what have these sort of tools, don't they?
Well, yeah. Is it worth asking that question now? So LinkedIn is the one that jumped out to me, but is everyone that's going to be taking part in the course, are they going to be au fait with LinkedIn? Is that something they're going to be on?
You'd expect the majority of people to use LinkedIn, but I don't know whether there's even a module within your course that helps them with social media platforms or networking.
There is some
skills.
stuff about the technology piece, so it's in there, yeah.
Well, you know, maybe.
Yeah, I'm a little bit more reluctant to say that in the people that, I mean, we haven't got anybody going on to level 1, but if people are going to be joining, or the intention is to get people involved in the lower levels, and in future, you know, if you're going to start getting people involved from SMEs and things on the lower levels, it might be one of the actions is to get on LinkedIn, but some of them might not already be on LinkedIn.
Well, I've just put it into the agenda, actually. I'm wondering whether we should actually say to everybody, look, we want you to get onto LinkedIn so you can be part of that community. You can't force people to do anything, I get that. But I think if we strongly encourage, I think that's part and parcel of Ian's point, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Does that answer your thing, Ben?
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, okay. But that's a good point. That's a really good point, that. Because I think that, again, it would add just another dimension, I think, to the way we're doing things. So, okay. So, has anybody got any better ideas than Ian? Diana? Oh, yep, you've got some ideas.
I was about to say something. How did you guess?
You went off mute.
No, I was thinking you could either have like a comment section, because this is going to be on the website, isn't it? So you can either have a comment section where they, after each module, where they can comment what they understood or didn't understand and can start a conversation, or you can set up like a forums page. I think that's quite easy as well, where people can just have any kind of question and then everyone else can comment underneath it.
Okay.
It just makes them stay on the same platform rather than encourage them to go in different places.
Yeah.
And whether or not they'll be discouraged to join other places.
So I mean, technology often have FAQs, but you're talking about forums, so slightly different. Okay, so let's get Rachel and Ben to investigate how we would do that then. So that blog, forums, you've got to think about the stuff people use, don't you? That's it really. Okay, yeah, good. I'm just conscious of you're leaving shortly, Margarita. Are you happy with what you've seen this morning?
Yeah, no, I think it's good. I was just thinking on the back of LinkedIn, perhaps it would be nice to see updates that we can then share, comment, and also take part to that conversation, so we can keep an eye, not that we're checking on anyone, but it'd be nice to also keep us as a team updated, rather than, because then it feels like we might go different ways, because now everything has been set up. So it'd be nice to keep that dialogue open.
So now the way the guys will tell me if I'm wrong here, but I don't think we need to make this an opt-in group. If we just make it an open group, then anybody can follow it. We don't need to have it available just for the students. Am I right with that, Ben?
Yeah, it just depends depends if you want to do it when you throw it out more widely, because you could end up with a lot of people in there.
Yeah, okay. So if we make it a membership group to start with until we're happy, and then at least, Margarita, we can all join.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. So we'll work on that basis. Okay. Right. So that's good. Another good point. Any more points?
No, they don't.
If that's okay, so if everybody's happy with that, the other headings I had on my agenda today were other stakeholders, professional bodies. Mike at TNT has asked me about costs going forward. I just haven't finalised that yet, Mike, because I just want to get this pilot underway and work out what I think the costs should look like. So I just haven't finalised that, but that's on my to-do list. So don't, so I've got that in place. And then the other one was PR and comms. We sort of made a decision that we didn't want to go around telling the world until we were doing something. Maybe tell people what we've done rather than what we're going to do. And I think that's a good idea. So I just wanted to maybe just talk about those two things, professional bodies and PR and comms.
I need to go, guys.
Cheers, Margarita.
Thank you. I'll see you soon.
All the best.
Bye.
See you soon.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. So, how do people, should we be starting to engage with professional bodies now, or should we just, and when I say now, I mean straight after we've launched it?
I think my view, Gerard, is you probably should be, because, well, as I've said on previous ones, as of others, people have got to be able to get some benefit out of this, and it being seen as a route to engagement with the professional body will be key for a lot of people.
Okay, so we want to, once we've launched it then, and we've got the students going, we probably want to try and work with the key ones we've got, and just sort of show them what we're doing then. Is that right? And do we have a strong view on? Do we wait until January, or do we do it straight after our launch? Anybody got a view on that?
My view is you start it as soon as you can. Eddie from the CIOB was part of the early discussions around this group, and if you didn't want to go across all of the professional bodies we'd identified, then you could restrict that initial engagement to CIOB and almost run a pilot with a professional body if you wanted to.
Okay, that's a good point. So yeah, I mean, Eddie's not, he hasn't been to the last couple of meetings, so I think it'd probably be worth me giving Eddie an update then, Keith.
That would be my view, yeah.
Yeah, okay, I'd agree with you. Okay, is there another one which we think we would want to actually act on equally quickly? Anybody? I mean, we haven't. Are there any sort of? What about in the professional services space, Diana, Gina? What about that, Rix or I don't know whether they're the right people to. They might be more difficult to engage with at the moment.
I think it's like you said before. You kind of got to have evidence before you can approach these people, just to show what you're doing and how it's working, and then for them to then turn around and say, oh, actually, yeah, we're interested.
I think as well, it's like the engineering side of things as well as that MICE is another one. I think Reba might be maybe not the best. So I think, as you say, Diana, until we have the evidence and things as well. And then they'll be very much like how we can tie it in, or relevance to probably like the architectural part 1, part 2, that kind of thing. They might be more trying to think, how does that all join up?
So do we think we should why don't we pick off CIOB and try and do something with them? And then once we've got that and we've got some lessons learned, we might want to do it. 1 second, I've got somebody just at the door. The trials of working from home. 1 second. Hang on a second. Talk amongst yourselves.
Banksy's knocking on the door.
Yeah.
I bet it's the flower delivery again.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I've got some work on at the house at the moment. Right, and so what was the conclusion? You were in charge, Diana. What was the conclusion?
We're just joking around that your wife is having another flower delivery.
Yeah.
That was yesterday.
Yeah, that was it. Well, she's on one of these. She said, "Oh, it's real good. I get them delivered once a month." I said, "Well, it's not free, is it? It's just she's on a subscription." It's like everybody's trying to turn their business model into a recurring revenue model, aren't they?
Oh yeah. So you were saying we're going to use, is it CITB to?
CIOB, was it?
Oh, that was it. Yeah. So
yeah, no, but I think the CITB is probably worth speaking to as well, actually. But I think I probably agree with Keith. I think the order should be CIOB first, because Eddie engaged with us. I know a couple of people at CITB. They're still in a bit of flux, but I think if we can get some buy-in from CIOB, that builds a platform for us to talk to other stakeholders, doesn't it? I think. So yeah, I'm happy with that. Okay, so in that case, then we probably don't want to do any PR comms, then, do we? Or do we want to launch this? Once we've got the guys engaged, the 25 students engaged, and we've got them going, do we want to start some PR now, or do we wait and do it in the new year when it might get all a bit lost before Christmas?
Yeah, I think it might get lost a bit before Christmas, Jared, but also I think a key part of what we can talk about in the PR will be the feedback we get from the surveys we do from the people taking part first.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, so I've added to the agenda, the launch webinar, I've added, we'll be doing surveys. I've added that onto the list of things. I think you're right. That came through in some of the things you've said, actually. So I'll add that to the agenda. Yeah, how does everybody else feel about that on the PR com side?
I agree. I think it would be better a bit later on when you've done a bit of evaluation, you've got some feedback from the 25 that are going through, you know, how they're getting on with their experience, and, you know, take all the positives out of that. Otherwise, it's a bit difficult as to know what you're going to, you know, what PR you're going to put out there, I would have thought.
No, that's fine. Okay,
Yeah,
we'll do that.
I'd agree with that. I think that's right.
Yeah, I think that's right. Okay.
My only comment on there, Gerard, would be tech. You know, what is TechU? Do people know what TechU is?
No, it's no is the answer, because we haven't told people who and
so
what
I just wonder whether there's a chance to do a soft launch of TechU, and then once you've got the feedback from the students, you can then say, oh, they've been taking part in this series of courses run by TechU, and then it's a soft launch almost.
I'd probably want to do the TechU launch in January, because we're starting to build some technology behind it at the moment. So I probably want to wait a bit on. So I think we could. Yeah, I get your point. I think what we'll probably do is we'll get Ben and Rachel to come up with a plan on that. But I think, you know, your comments are probably aligned to mine, which is let's tell people what we've done and how good it is, rather than what we're going to do and how good it will be, because that's usually a weaker message, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and we'll be more ready to take any extra interest.
Yeah, that's a fair point as well. We need to be geared up for that as well, Facebooks, forums, and what have you. Okay, and we need to know the pricing. So I think once I've got this going, I'll be able to work out, you know, future costs, which is something Mike, you know, felt was important. Well, don't feel it is important to get, you know, people. We need to know that how it sits in the marketplace as well for other stuff. Okay, and around the funding as well. So okay, if that's it, then I've got one piece of AOB, and that was to put Diana on the spot. Because you sent me an email this morning, Diana.
It was yesterday.
Oh, yesterday. I read it this morning, then, to be fair. So,
does anyone have anything else to add to your points, or do you want me to run through?
Yeah, I don't know. Is everybody happy with what's going on?
Yep.
Okay, so I think I've got some great feedback there. Thank you very much for everybody's feedback. So we'll just do a quick note after this, and then we'll be starting to invite people to it, and then get the webinar, and hopefully the 3rd of December works for everybody. And let's just crack on with that. Any comments that come to you afterwards, please feel free to feed back to the team as well. So Diana sent me an email yesterday. Not today, yesterday. So off you go, Diana.
Yes, so there's been, basically, I thought that's quite interesting. There's been a report released, which is Future of Consultancy and Engineering Strategy. I'll send you a link. Basically, it's an organization looking at what the future employee is looking from an employer, and how the construction industry really needs to adapt to what the Generation Z is looking for. Otherwise, they're never going to retain talent. It's all really interesting. You know, it looks at things like the next generation are more likely to go into SMEs rather than huge corporations, where an SME is looking for sustainable businesses, and how they're really driving forward carbon zero. And it's all these sort of ideas that if you're trying to retain talent in our industry, we need to make sure we're geared up for it. Otherwise, if we maintain the traditional way of working, you're not going to bring in talent into the industry, and then you're going to have skill shortage. So it's just a different opinion of, at the moment, I guess in this group, we're looking at how to make employees more attractable to employers, whereas this is how to retain staff. But yeah, definitely encourage people to read it. Really interesting. You know, there's things like construction industry is not really digitally, doesn't drive digital innovation forward as much as other industries. Is how to collaborate more with digital companies. There's things like Dubai's using AI to build all their buildings rather than consultants.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think UK is anywhere near geared up to that kind of standard, but that's where the industry is going. Yeah. And what are we doing to train our engineers for that kind of change? So it's definitely worthwhile having a look.
Okay.
Quite timely.
Well, it's interesting. I've clicked on the web link, by the way, for everybody's in the chat. it's interesting because Zahawi's had a comment about it, and he's obviously quite an interesting guy. He's the guy the government roll out when there's any tricky conversations around anything, really. He's the guy he's one of the founders of YouGov. I don't know if you know that, everybody, but he made quite a lot of money out of YouGov. Bob Kerslake, our chairman, knows him quite well, actually. So I think it might be, one of the things we talked previously. We've mentioned DWP, and we've also mentioned government. I think one of the people we might want early engagement with is the government. So we might want to speak to Fergus Harrendance. Do people know who he is? I know Sean knows who he is. He's a construction lead for Bays, the business people. So I think we might want to. I've had a few conversations with him, so I think he might be useful, and I think Zahawi might be useful as well, because I think that would chime quite nicely with Diana's point about that consultancy. We could sort of say, look, and we should maybe write to Hannah Vickers as well. So, because she's the chief executive of AceNet, isn't she?
Yeah.
Does anybody know Hannah? Okay. You know Fergus, don't you, Sean? You there, Sean? Is he pretending he's there? He's one of those where he pretends he's there. He's actually
on for lunch.
Yeah. He's gone off and he's doing his tulips. Ian, do you know Fergus?
I don't know Fergus, but I'll pick it up with Sean and ask him to drop you a note, Gerard.
Yeah, and maybe pay attention. This is
he has the world's worst Wi-Fi down in the States. There he is.
I couldn't get, believe it or not, the Wi-Fi is actually a problem, which is why I've turned the video off, and I couldn't unmute. I was waffling on, it wouldn't have it, Gerard. I apologise. Yeah, obviously I know Fergus. I don't know I don't know the lady that you mentioned last.
Hannah Vickers.
Yeah, but obviously there's a few good contacts there that I think it's worth talking to, and also the RICS. I mean, Tim Neal's presidency is due to end, but obviously we know Tim Neal. It could well be there's a link into RICS, but I don't want to make promises sometimes because they can be a little bit like the RIBA, really. Sometimes they'll want more evidence and information rather at the early stage of engagement. But as it's towards the end of his presidency, he might be receptive to it. So let's see.
Yeah, I think the professional bodies. I agree with what the comments are, which is evidence will be more supportive. I just think with the ministers and with the civil servants, they're looking for good news all the time. So I think early engagement with them might just help us amplify what we're doing, particularly around DWP. Because I mean, one of the things I want to pick up with you, Jan, afterwards is the funding piece. That just to understand that, because I'd like to. Do we need to put some pressure on it? I'm not going to say we're going to get really pressure on people, but I'm just really interested in that. Can we link it in with Kickstart? All this other stuff going on. CITB, I want to speak to them about that, but just getting stuff like that going. So I'll pick that up with you separately, Jan.
Okay.
So that was it, really. That's everything on my agenda today.
Good progress.
Yeah, there's no I in team, Jan.
No.
but there's a me and an am. So no, I think the team are doing really well. So everybody's contributing to this. So it's all about, as long as we're doing this right, then hopefully we'll get there. So okay, does anybody else have any other business rather than Diana's, or in addition to Diana's?
No, thank you.
Okay. All right. So if everybody's happy, there'll be a recording of this going up. We'll do a short note, but I think we know what we're sort of doing now.
Yeah.
So if everybody is finished, I will just say, have a good day. Enjoy the rugby in the pub, Keith.
I can't tell that you're envious at all, Gerard.
Bloody hell, yeah. I'll tell you what.
There are 15 of us on the course. You need to have 15 drinks at least.
Yeah. So, Keith, send me a picture
I will do.
Send me a picture.
I will do tomorrow night. You know,
we'll
suitable
share it.
time.
Exactly. Yeah. Just do that. So okay, okay. If that's it, so thanks everybody. Ben, Rachel, and Charlie, would you and Jan, would you mind just staying on a second? I want to get a date in the diary to get our webinar sorted, please, guys. I just want to pick up when we're going to speak about the funding with Jan.
Yeah. No worries.
Yeah, sure.
Right, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye,
Cheers
guys.
all. See you later.
Cool.
Bye.
Take care. Bye bye. Bye bye.